So cameras rolling. Y'all ready to get started? You're okay?
Yep.
Everyone's here on both sides of the table. So start, I think, again with introductions. I know this, for those that may be new to this is, I believe, session 12 now. My name is Terry Harmon, here as negotiator for the school district. And I'll start on my left, and then we'll go to my right. And let everybody here introduce themselves before we get in.
Julie Sessa, Assistant Superintendent of HR.
Sherry Richardson, Director of Professional Standards and Employee Relations.
Gordon Morrison, Assistant Superintendent of Finance.
Lisa Estevez, Assistant Superintendent, Student Support Services.
Kathy Pirandosi, Director of Student Services.
Good evening, Jeff Raymond, Director of Talent Acquisition and HR.
Don Calderon, Director of Risk Management and Employee Benefits.
Mark Howells, Coordinator, Martin County Schools.
Pat Holtz, MCEA.
Susan Rayo, MCEA.
Alec McIntyre, MCEA.
Gary Simmons, Chief Negotiator for MCEA from FEA.
Matt Theobald, President, MCEA.
Lonnie Barch, MCEA.
Kim Love, MCEA.
Good evening to everybody else in attendance with us this evening. I think we'll start, as we have with our past sessions, with an agenda. I'm not sure if we'll pass that out, give you a chance to look at it. And as always, any additions or subtractions you'd like to propose. Anything you'd like to add to it that we don't have? Okay. So I guess we're already past introduction, so really I think one of the biggest items on the agenda is the district's response to our last session. There were three options that were proposed as a resolution to the discussion regarding supplements and Article 2. And I think because in the nature and the way that was presented, what we'd like to do is make our full presentation as to what our response is and then give you an opportunity to look at everything on the table. So the first thing we'll start with is, I guess, pass all of it out, Trish, if you could. And I'm just going to go through each item after they're passed out and explain our response.
Thank you, Trish. So now that they've been passed out, obviously you'll need time to review them, but I'll just explain them verbally and then give you a chance to look. So just to recap, I know that the three options that were proposed at the last session, one of them was to treat Western Zone grandfathered employees one way and to apply a across-the-board addressing supplements. Another option was to treat all Western Zone employees the same as it relates to the amount to be paid to those employees. And again, I'm paraphrasing, they were in writing, so they say what they say. And then the third option that was proposed was essentially no resolution on the issues and an impasse. What our counter proposal is,
I'm gonna go through, there are three items that I'm gonna explain, and I'll start with the first item, which is at the top titled, it's a memorandum of understanding, and this is the board's counter proposal to the three options. I don't think at this time the board has the appetite, or our side has the appetite for the three options, but we did come up with what we think is a practical approach to kind of where we are overall. In the options that were presented by MCEA at the last meeting, it focused a lot on the raise pool and how to distribute those remaining funds from the raise pool to address Western Zone supplements and or other supplements. And we've obviously had some differing opinions on some of those topics throughout the last few sessions, but in an effort to try to reach an agreement as it relates to salary, benefits, supplements, what we have proposed through a memorandum of understanding is a way to distribute all of the remaining raise pool, which is $28,003.33. So instead of distributing it only to Western Zone supplement or supplements, again, because we can't reach an agreement, our proposal is to, though, spread out that $28,003.33 that remains in the raise pool as an across-the-board raise to all members of the bargaining unit. The effect of that would exhaust the raise pool and leave it as the board covering an additional $155.19 from the raise pool. If I understood, supplements was an issue that from the last session felt like was a longer term discussion, and really from our perspective, so as to not hold up bargaining, especially as it relates to salary, our view was that distributing it evenly amongst the entire bargaining unit was a practical approach to that. That's item 1 of 3. The second item is proposed language as it relates to Article 2. And the proposed language into Article 2 should not be new to what you've seen in the past from our proposal. What we've done is just taken the language straight from the last MOU relating to the Western Zone supplement and essentially implemented it here into Article 2, Section 4E. And again, that's language straight from the MOU as to Western Zone. That's item 2. And then item 3 is Article 11, which is leave provisions. And actually, I skipped over it. There was one issue that we spent a lot of time at the last session talking about, and that was about retroactive pay. If you recall, the current language does not really have any endpoint for retroactive pay, and our proposal was to put an end date of February so that it would motivate the sides to get it done, and we had a pretty spirited back and forth about that. And at this time, we pulled that from our proposed language, so that is no longer language that we would seek to include in our proposals. It is just the Western Zone language in Article 2. And then as it relates to Article 11, it is the same language pertaining to presidential leave and the 1 year of leave in Section 11.2, subparagraphs F and I. Our proposed language to those was to strike it. And that kind of summarizes our proposals at this point. I do want to clarify, as you may have seen, the board at its last board meeting took action on the previously tentatively agreed to salary remaining documents. And so as not to disrupt those, the memorandum of understanding that's been presented to you tonight is a counter to the supplement proposal. And so if it is accepted, that language that is in there as it relates to the dollars and cents is based off of what was previously TA'd. Just the only difference being raising the across-the-board raise
based on the salary proposal. And that would conclude our proposals back to your side this evening.
Okay, thank you. I know with the, just immediately, I can tell you that we're rejecting the recommended language in Article 11. We have absolutely no appetite to weaken our collective bargaining agreement by eliminating the opportunity for our president to take a leave of absence. We've had that discussion. I'm not interested in rehashing our positions on that. I think that our positions are crystal clear when it comes to that. With respect to Article 2 and the counter proposal on the supplements, I would like to take an opportunity to caucus with my team to discuss that.
Would you like to take it now?
Yes, please.
Okay, how long?
10 minutes.
So how about we come back here at 5:05, just to give you a little extra?
That'll work.
We're on.
All right. First and foremost, thanks for the opportunity to have a caucus to discuss what was presented. After the discussion, we decided that we're going to move forward to begin the impasse process. We've contacted PERC and we've been assigned a mediator. And I would like the mediator to take a look at these sessions with respect to our proposals, what our proposals were attempting to address, even with respect to the article that you guys currently have on the table with Article 2. I also want the mediator to take a look at the board's decision to move forward with ratification on a mandatory subject of bargaining, knowing that we still have supplements outstanding. That action in and of itself is an unfair labor practice, because what you're doing is you're bargaining and ratifying the contract in piecemeal. This isn't even a full book year. This is a year with salaries in 2 articles. And the board moved forward to ratify without us having any knowledge of what our status is with respect to negotiations. And I just want to invite the mediator that we were assigned by the state of Florida just to take a look at this and just this entire practice, because it doesn't follow Chapter 447. I'll just leave it at that. I've bought copies of Chapter 447 for you guys to take back to the board. I'll make contact to our mediator. Second. Yes, please, if you would be so kind. The mediator that was assigned to us, his name is Randy Lawson. I'll reach out to Mr. Lawson in the morning and let him know that we want to start the mediation process to try to avoid impasse. Furthermore, my issues with the board moving forward with the ratification process prior to us having an agreed understanding that negotiations is over, because it invites things to take place that happened last year. And reaching out to the bargaining unit members, telling them things that are disingenuous and not factual, that's an unfair labor practice as well. It's direct dealing with our bargaining unit members. And as I stated, and I'm not going to dive into all of that, I just think that at this time it's the opportunity to just allow PERC to come in and review this process. So I think that that's where we're going to close at tonight.
Just to clarify, did you say you reached out to the mediator before this evening?
No, I said we were assigned the mediator on my way here. So I didn't even know his name until I sat down in this chair in preparation for this session. but it's just perfect timing. Some call it a coincidence. I call it divine intervention. So we have Randy Lawson. I'll be reaching out to Mr. Lawson in the morning to invite him to come in and review not only the proposals that we have on the table, but just to review this process in and of itself, because I don't think that the board is going to be too interested in me telling them that they're violating Chapter 447. But if it's a representative from the Public Employee Relations Commission, they might have a tendency to believe Mr. Lawson more so than myself. So I think that that's where we're going to leave it at.
So you want the mediator to opine to FERC about the process employed by the board?
Not the process employed by the board, the proposals that we have on the table with respect to what we're trying to satisfy, because impasse requires us to answer several specific questions. And we believe that the counterproposal that was made today is totally neglecting the issues that we're trying to address. And the board isn't trying to hear us. So maybe if someone else is explaining to the board what we're trying to do, it'll come across a little bit more clear.
And so just as I make sure I heard it correctly from you two, and this is, I think, my last question, you're saying you believe it's an unfair labor practice for the board to have taken action on an item before it was ratified by MCEA?
Yeah, I would just, and to answer your question, I would just encourage you to research all of the past tentative agreements that MCSD and MCEA has made and find out how many times the school board has ratified before the union. Now, there was other exceptions that we made to try to meet deadlines, but we feel that we could have clearly met the October 1 deadline and not have to agree to a TSIA memorandum of understanding like we did in the past years. And even when the board went to ratify that, we were knowledgeable. We had no idea that there was a ratification on the tentative agreements that we made, knowing that we still had subjects that are mandatory subjects of bargaining still outstanding on the table. And I'd be interested to find examples in which you're allowed to ratify in the middle of negotiations, knowing that we had a bargaining session scheduled for the 24th. So I've never seen it before, so I'm not going to pass an opinion on it. I just think that it's the opportune time to bring in somebody from PERC.
And so as it relates to the proposed expenditure of the raise pool, the response is we'd like good impasse.
The response is that we had a specific...
Sorry, I have one more question. I apologize. I said I was done, but I did have that one.
That's perfectly fine. The response to it is we had a specific desire to address a long-standing issue in our contract. You guys still have it on the table to address. What we wanted to do and what we were fiscally responsible in doing in making our salary agreements, we saved up enough money to address those particular issues. The board has absolutely no appetite to address any of those issues, but to give our, just to continue to put money in across the board raises while all of our neighboring school districts are improving their supplement schedule. You guys said that you wanted to be number one. We didn't say that. You went on the record and said you wanted to be number one. When we hold you accountable to being number one, then we get told, yet again, we know what's best for your bargaining unit members instead of you guys. So you're not listening to us. We clearly made our positions. We kept our proposals fiscally responsible to the money that they earmarked on the first day that we came to this table. We never asked the board for any more, any less, and I think that this is just becoming unnecessarily difficult. So with that being said, let's have somebody in here with no chips on the table, hear both sides, and see which side he would append to. So that's our position, and it's not going to the impasse process. Prior to going to impasse, we enter the mediation process. Should the mediation process not be successful, then we move on to the impasse process. So what I'm going to be doing tomorrow is contacting the assigned mediator to begin the mediation process.
I've got to end by saying it's a little frustrating that it's ending like this.
Think about me.
In a sense that,
Did you see our face?
can we speak? We need to be professionals at the table and not laugh. That's unprofessional. I've not laughed at any of you, no matter what you've said, how much I've disagreed with you. So let's keep it professional. All I wanted to say was it's a little bit frustrating that it has to end like this when you've said that the proposals were to address a longstanding issue, to be fiscally responsible, to spend no more, no less than what's in the raise pool. But up until last week, the only supplement proposal was for a 25% across the board increase, which was all of the raise pool and then a whole lot more of the raise pool. And I respect that the last proposal that you had was to do a 1% across the board, which I believe what you said was much like health insurance, something we can address on the short term and continue to discuss on the long term. And so it's frustrating that when our salary pool, taking the salary pool and spreading it out instead of a 1% supplement raise, is rejected in favor of mediation. That's the frustrating part. And I understand
No, because the thing,
you're frustrated with our side as well.
right, because we don't need an extra $23 for all of our members. That's not the number one priority at this time. So what we want to do is have the board respect the fact that we know what our bargaining unit members want, instead of constantly have to have the board tell us what our bargaining unit members want. So what I'm stating is that your proposal is adding more money than the money that was in the raise pool, correct? None of our options are doing that. You're adding more money to solve a problem that doesn't exist when we're asking you to use the money that's left over to solve a problem that does exist. So why not let PERC listen to those arguments and decide who do you think's proposals is more sound? And that's our right under Chapter 447. We wouldn't ask you to not exercise your rights through the Florida statute, and we'll be respectful to ask you not to ask us to do it, and not to go and make all of these crazy messages that we're holding up bargaining unit members from getting their pay, et cetera, et cetera. That's not the situation. The situation is you guys are not listening to the representatives of the bargaining unit. And I think that our option 1 and our option 2 is much better than giving 1,190-something members an extra $23 in their paycheck. It's a nice gesture, but it's just not the priority at this moment.
Oh, yeah, thank you. To clarify that, thank you, Julie. I would assume based on that, it's the same as basically all 3 items tonight that were presented across the table is what you'd like to go through the separate process.
Well, no, not necessarily, because the president's leave is a permissive subject of bargaining, and we're not required to take that to impasse. So our no is no on that.
Gotcha.
What we're looking at is Article 2 and the supplement proposal,
Okay.
because Article 2 and supplement proposals are mandatory subjects of bargaining.
Okay. Thank you. Nothing else from our end. I don't know if you have anything you'd like to add.
Nope. You guys have a good evening and safe travels.
Y'all stay safe. Thank you.